Iran could be weeks away from developing a nuclear weapon. That is the warning coming from U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in his first television interview since taking office last week on NBC News today. Blinken reiterated the Biden administration's intention to return to the 2015 Iranian nuclear deal if Iran resumes compliance first. Well, we have Benham Ben Taleblu joining us to break this all down. He's a senior analyst at the Foundation for Defense of Democracy. So, Benham, tell us what was revealed in this latest interview with the U.S. Secretary of State.
Well, great to be back with you. I think the most important thing was the Secretary of State's harping on this thing called breakout time, which is really the time needed to actually produce a nuclear weapon. And based on different estimates, currently, Iran can make up between 1 to 2 nuclear weapons given its stock of low enriched uranium on its soil, meaning if it takes that and further enriches it. But the U.S. interest in this breakout time kind of harkens back to the 2015 nuclear deal, because one of the things that deal achieved allegedly was locking in a 1-year breakout time for a period of 10 years. And now with Blinken talking about breakout time within a matter of weeks, it looks like the U.S. is going to be trying to diplomatically maneuver to restore that 1-year breakout time.
Now, Iran's foreign minister hinted at a way to bridge this nuclear deal impasse. What's the latest on that?
Well, I actually think the activities of Iran's foreign minister Zarif, I think he recently concluded a CNN interview a few moments ago, are actually what's also helping drive U.S. interest in this breakout time. Because on the one hand, Iran is doing things like continuing enriching uranium to 20% purity under a mountain in Fordo, allegedly an impenetrable nuclear site. And on the other hand, they're sending Zarif out talking to the international media, talking about the importance of the U.S. giving compensation. So Iran is intentionally sending these signals that are designed to kind of get at American concerns, which is what will happen if Iran goes unchecked. And this is designed to elicit sanctions relief. So the concerns that Blinken is having about the direction of Iran's nuclear program are, I think, intentionally being harped on in the public statements of Zarif. And Iran's activities are designed to heighten those concerns. It's a very perverse game of chicken, but one that I think, unfortunately, in the short term, is working to Iran's favor.
So the question then is, when is the new American administration going to take action here? And will going back into the nuclear deal really be effective at this point?
It's a good question, because I unfortunately saw a bit of a backtracking. Initially, Blinken and another nominee for a cabinet position before the Senate talked about not rushing to go back into the JCPOA. Then you had Iranian officials talk about the window for JCPOA reentry not being permanently open. And then you recently had comments, I think, by the National Security Advisor saying that the JCPOA reentry is an early priority. So in my view, I think within the next, 4 to 6 months, the U.S. is going to try to do something to cap the growth of Iran's nuclear program or resurrect that 2015 nuclear deal. But doing so cleanly and plainly would be a mistake, because the deal is expiring. Many sunset clauses have already lapsed. And the deal itself, when it was alive, Iran was cheating under, and it proved not to restrain its non-nuclear bad behavior. So if you go back into it as is, thinking the Middle East of today is the Middle East of 2015, I think the new administration would be sorely mistaken. I think they have the opportunity to capitalize on the existing sanctions leverage and try to go for a broader fix. But to do that, you have to be a bit more risk tolerant.
So at this point, where does Israel stand on the issue? What does Israel think is the right move for the United States administration to make at this point?
Well, I think Israel is taking a wait-and-see approach. It's a little bit of a different approach under the Trump administration and a little bit of a different approach compared to the Obama administration. But look, I think Israel, better than anyone else, understands that the Middle East of 2021 is not the Middle East of 2015, 2016. They understand where Iran has grown in terms of Yemen, Iraq, and most importantly, Syria, where you see so many strikes. Israel's kinetic pushback on Iran is going to have to be part of the U.S. policy equation. There is going to have to be a sustained diplomatic and military back channel between Israel and America, and even other U.S. partners in the region, such as Gulf partners like Saudi Arabia and UAE and Bahrain, on Iran with the U.S. And I think all these countries understand that America must develop a regional approach to the Iranian threat. And if the U.S. just goes back into a fatally flawed nuclear deal, it would mean that the U.S. did not heed the advice of its partners and allies in the region once again.